Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
The town of Hillsborough was an important center of trade in North Carolina during the Revolutionary War period, and you can certainly find a treasure of beautiful colonial homes in and around this Orange County town. But Airmount, built in 1815, is the jewel in the crown.
There is no shortage of history in North Carolina. If you're an architecture buff, you might think that you have to drive to the coast or the mountains to see a true classic American home, in which case you might miss a historical gem right in your backyard. Airmount, a short trip from downtown Hillsborough.
Airmount's a great site if you really want to know about early 1800s history. And architecturally, everything's intact. We know a lot about the history of the house and the family. So when people come to take a tour, it's great because we're able to share all our knowledge.
And it all begins with William Kirkland, who was the biggest merchant in Hillsborough in the early 1800s.
He was the big store owner. He was from Scotland, Air Scotland. That's why he named the house Airmount. And he built it here because it was close to then the Indian trading path, and it passed in front of Airmount, and it went roughly the way I-85 does today. So it started in Virginia, went through the Carolinas and into Georgia.
And that path brought a lot of commerce. A lot. So much so that William Kirkland became a very wealthy merchant and wanted his house to reflect that newfound wealth.
There's 6,000 square feet of living space here. That wasn't a typical home in our area. All set in brick, and that wasn't typical as well, because it's a beautiful house. It's very elaborate in its woodwork, in the construction.
It's also fairly unique because it's a sterling example of the Federalist period in American history.
Federal's a great period. It's really a short time. It's about 30-year span, but it's after they fought the Revolutionary War. They have this really newfound love almost of America. You see eagles and stars as you go through the house. It's just this big shout of independence. It's really sleek, but very elegant, very classic kind of looking. But I tell you that so you can really understand how much money that the Kirklands put into building their house. It was a big deal at the time where we are, because nobody was building houses out of brick. Actually, when William first came to America, he really had just the clothes on his back. His father and grandfather were fleshers, or what we call butchers here. But he wanted something else. He wanted a better life.
I liked pointing out the pieces that were original to the Kirklands. It was great. It was extremely informative. I mean, there was way more information about the inside of the house. I don't know, I only kind of looked from the outside, I guess. And just every room was so pretty. I enjoyed, this was my favorite one though, this music room. And I think I liked just the colors and the idea of it being the social gathering room.
Pleasantly surprised. I knew it would be lovely, but I had no idea that the house would be so large. It's quite lovely, and I enjoyed learning about the history.
One visitor was from across the Atlantic and was on the lam. She was on the run from a hurricane that had shut down the coast.
So they said, don't go north, don't go south, and we came west. And we ended up in Chapel Hill, and I stumbled upon Airmount. It must have been very impressive when it was built, I think. It was so big and so kind of lavish for so early kind of a time.
On all accounts, the house is very impressive, but the Airmount experience doesn't end there.
We have a 1-mile Poets Walk that goes around the property. It takes you down to the river. There's little places where you can sit down. It comes up by the pond, and then you see an overlook, so to speak, of the Indian trading path. We have picnic tables, and people can come and have a picnic.
We love it out here. We come out here all the time on the weekend, and pretty much any time that we want to be able to sit in the sun. And the trail around the outside goes right along the Eno, and so that's really pretty. And it's great in the winter. You know, the woods are great in the winter, the summer.
Airmount is secluded and it's historic. It might be one of the best places in North Carolina to go to reconnect with the past.
I think it's really important to always connect with your history. We tend to think that everything happens so fast because we're in this techno age, but this is a time when things were slower, but no less important because of that. They worked hard, and yet they were simple people, but they enjoyed life in a way that we may not enjoy life anymore.
Airmount is located at 376 St. Mary's Road in Hillsborough, and they're open Wednesday through Sunday for tours and special events. The Poets Walk is open daily. To find more information, you can go to the Classical American Homes Preservation website at classicalamerican.org.
Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.